Get out there.
Me too. Right.
Mr. Bond.
Fine, how you? I got a community meeting if I get done in time to go to. Time was called the December 20th Anderson County Regular Council meeting to order. Welcome everyone here. This time I'd like to ask Councilmember Ms. Floyd if she would lead us in invocation and pledge allegiance. Ms. Floyd.
Please go to your higher power for your prayers as I go to mine. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to call attention, council members' attention to item number 6. It's been pulled tonight for the reason having to being some rewording by the attorneys. When they get it reworded, give all council members a chance to look at it and go over it before we vote on it. And I think the goal is to have it ready for the first meeting in January. That item number 6, ordinance first reading, number 2011-043, pulled. And at this time, we'll go to item number 3. Citizens' comments. Please, Mr. Pitts, call your name, address the chair, state your name, your district, and address matters. This first go-around matters that's on a council agenda item at this time, please. Mr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up is Mark Powell.
Mark Powell, District 7. Wish everyone to be a Merry Christmas if this is the last time we get to see you all together. God has certainly blessed us as a nation, and I hope He continues to pour His blessings out on us through the birth of His Son, Jesus Christ. Wanted to speak to you about a couple items on the agenda. Tri-County Tech. It's down in the report from the Finance Committee. You know, there's people in the blogosphere who, in this room, we butt heads on a lot of issues. But what would be considered some of my arch enemies, or at least they consider me their arch enemy, we agree upon this issue. This land should not be given to Tri-County Tech so that it can be used to practice in teaching how to run a bulldozer. It is very valuable land beside the airport. When I say very valuable, it was $1 million paid for it. Might have been overvalued when it was purchased, but it's land beside the airport. They want to argue that you should have put a ball field there. That would be stupid. You can't have the bright lights out beside an airport when a plane's trying to land. But you can have businesses with low lighting, with the light flecked down, don't point up like a ball field does, as far as industrial, commercial development, industrial primarily. So I beg you, on behalf of myself and some of my dire arch enemies, please do not give this land for Tri-County Tech to practice bulldozing. I've looked on the internet, and Anderson County must own several hundred pieces of property. And I say that sincerely. If you punch up Anderson County as the owner, we guys, own hundreds of pieces of dirt. Give them a piece of dirt that's not anywhere that matters. Oh, I just hope that you consider that whenever it comes up for finalization. Oh, again, it does my heart well to think those who hate me think the same way I do on this issue. Oh, I'd also like to say that concerning this subdivision who broke the rules, once again, they built houses that broke the rules. They probably have a guy working for them that used to work for you guys. I know he does. He used to work here, who wrote those rules, and now they're trying to help them figure out how to fix it now that they have literally broken the rules. Make them out of garage, apartment, make them out of bathroom, make them out of another bedroom. Do not allow them to go to a lower quality standard of house on square footage just because they broke the rules and they think they can get you to go along with it. Next house they want to build, fine. If you change it, make it retro. Don't make it retro, make it for new houses in that subdivision. When you build a house on a lot the size of a postage stamp, we in Anderson County may have a lot of transplants, but ain't enough of them coming here to buy the houses when you could reach over and touch your neighbor's window. So please do not allow that to happen. And once again, wish you guys a very Merry Christmas.
Not here. Moving on. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, resolutions 4A, R2011-054. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's quite an honor for me tonight to be able to do this resolution. It's a resolution honoring Loretta Holloway, an Anderson County treasurer who continues to represent her hometown of Belton, Anderson County, and the state of South Carolina through her melodious and powerful voice, and to applaud Ms. Holloway for her service within our community in all matters related thereto. Whereas Loretta Holloway is a native of Belton, South Carolina, and attended Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina, Ms. Holloway studied to become an English teacher and worked as a jazz singer while in college. Whereas Loretta Holloway found that she had a natural gift and moved to Chicago to pursue a career in music. Ms. Holloway has performed in concerts all over the United States and abroad, and her voice has afforded her the opportunity to record theme songs, perform in off-Broadway productions, and act in cameo roles in several films, including Blackjack, Pure Country with George Strait, and Elvis and Me. She also has performed as the opening act for comedians Bill Cosby, Jay Leno, Whoopi Goldberg, Gary Shandling, and Don Rickles. Ms. Holloway was presented to Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip in a Royal Command performance in Brisbane, Australia. Whereas Loretta Holloway has been honored as South Carolina's First Lady of Song, as well as one of South Carolina's Women of Substance, where she lends her talents to various charity organizations, including the Belton Interfaith Ministries Association, Hospice of the Upstate, the AIDS Awareness Program in Las Vegas, AFAN, and the Golden Rainbow. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by the Anderson County Council. Anderson County Council applauds Loretta Holloway for her selfless work and with charities, and extends its best wishes to continuous success in her career as she mesmerizes her audiences with her smooth and powerful voice that affects positive change in the lives of many and makes Belton, Anderson County, and the state of South Carolina proud to be her home. This resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon enactment. Mr. Chairman, I put that in form of a motion.
Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of Mr. Moore's motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I would like for all the council members to come down and join in this very special occasion honoring Miss Loretta Holloway. And we would like for Loretta's family, I know she has 2 brothers here, to come up and join us too. We would like for all of you to come up and join us in this very special occasion.
Thank you.
That's
Moving on to item number 4B, a proclamation proclaiming December 2011 as Arbor Day Month in Anderson County. Mr. Burns.
Mr. Chairman, I will read the final portion. Now, therefore, we, the Anderson County Council of Anderson, South Carolina, do hereby proclaim December 2011 as Arbor Day Month in the County of Anderson, South Carolina, and we urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, we urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Proclaimed on the 20th day of December in the year 2011.
Have a motion? Motion, Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. And just for people to know out there, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier, the minutes wasn't ready. That's the reason we didn't vote to approve the minutes tonight. I hope they'll be ready by the January meeting. We had some trouble letting them trying to sort out on that. We'll be moving on to item number 5A, ordinance's third reading. Item number 2011-03A, ordinance amending section 1082 of the Anderson County Code pertaining to the fire code enforcement, matters related thereto. I put that in the form of a motion. Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 5B, number 2011-042, ordinance finding Homeland Park Water District may issue bonds not exceeding $1.5 million, general obligation bonds. Third reading on this. We had a public hearing, I think, last time. Do we have a motion? Motion, Mr. Moore, to approve. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. Wilson. Are there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Said earlier, item 6 has been stricken. We moved to item number 7, acceptance of the Garden Brookstone Meadows subdivision. Final in Courtyard, Brookstone Meadows subdivision, final into the county road maintenance system. This is not repeat, this is not the subdivision that was tabled last council meeting. This is a different one. Do we have this is, Mr. Allen, this is your district, Ms. Wilson's?
It is, it's mine. Yeah,
Have a motion?
so moved.
And I'll second.
Second,
And I
Ms.
just
Wilson.
wanted to point out, I appreciated the disclosure that it had been thoroughly reviewed, because we've had trouble with runoff before, and I know Mr. Tolley started asking our staff to go out and thoroughly review, make sure there's no runoff, and obviously Mr. Carty did that, so I appreciate it.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, acceptance of Pattersville Station Road A into the county road maintenance system. Mr. Burns.
Mr. Chairman, you have before you the request from the Transportation Division.
Do we have a motion?
Motion moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Moore, second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? Hearing all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 9, resolutions R 2011-055, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of inducement agreement by and between Anderson County, South Carolina, and Lawless Metals Incorporated. Whereas under certain conditions, Anderson County will provide an infrastructure tax credit to Lawless Metals Incorporated. Mr. Pitts? Or would you like,
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Nelson's going to
he's to your right shoulder, but you'd like for him to,
hit particulars, but this is an inducement resolution for a special source credit arrangement.
Nelson? I don't think it is.
Light's on its own. Is that working?
Yeah.
I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council, Mr. Burns, Mr. Pitts, Ms. Edelman. Thank you for allowing me to present this opportunity for jobs creation and capital investment in Anderson County. As Mr. Pitts said, this is an inducement resolution to place Lawless Metals in a multi-county park and their new acquisitions. We've mentioned many times on the floor how at 10.5%, state of South Carolina has the highest manufacturing property tax in the nation, and how onerous that is. This is a company that started by its own bootstraps 25 years ago, has grown to over $4 million in capital investment on its existing site on Key Street Extension, has numerous contracts with numerous auto suppliers and other companies in Anderson County. They've even done some work for First Quality and some of their structural steel. These folks are expanding by buying an existing industry. The expense $2.5 million. Under normal circumstances, that kind of capital investment would qualify for a negotiated fee. However, because it's an existing facility and still operational, and I put that in quotation marks, it cannot qualify for a fee. What this proposal is to offer that opportunity to give them a 6% assessment equivalent through a multi-county park by giving them special source credit to get it to a 6% or represent or an equivalent of 6%. These folks are going to create somewhere that company ownership has semi-retired, out of business because they are not working, they're retired. These folks have Lawless Metals is going to put back to work in the building and create additional jobs there. New job opportunities have an average payroll of $685,000. Their existing payroll on the existing operation now is $1.4 million. The current, of course, investment is $4 million. The new purchase is $2.5 million. To place this in our partner county, Gulf County For the county, opportunity to investment to garner $44,500 approximately in property tax as opposed to that building vacant building, vacant commercial building, approximately $18,000 property tax. Those were estimates. This information comes to council's recommendation to staff. We respectfully request that you give favorable consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Floyd?
The tax of $44,000. That goes to one of our schools, doesn't it? Some of that goes to the schools? 70% goes to school, and that's in District 5, or what district? District 5. Okay, District 5. Okay, when we talked about this, I want to make sure this is clear. When we talked about this, we said that it'll cost us $250,000 for 10 years.
Right there.
Is it?
$5,000 a year.
What?
I'm sorry, that's 10. That's the one we took off. I apologize. That's the one we took off. This is a wireless matter. There's not a special.
Okay, now this is the one on Key Street Extension, right? Okay. And this is the one that's going to create only 10 jobs.
Well, the location they're purchasing, place 10 jobs there. They're creating jobs on their own site.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? We have a motion. Motion, Mr. Moore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? I'd just like to say I commend staff for putting this together, because it's something you hear a lot of times out in the community about, the big guys getting this and getting that, and that little guy, and which they're not such a little company, but it is a family-owned business, and it's good to see them getting some pretty equal to for what they do for Anderson and put back in everything locally owned company. So wholeheartedly support this. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you. Moving on to item number 10, report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Crowder.
Thank you, Chairman Dunn. The first item on the agenda are iPads, and the Finance Committee recommends the purchase of iPads for those council members only who are desirous to use them. The recommendation does not encumber any member of council have to use an iPad. And in talking with councils across the state, one of the first ones I ran into was Horry County. They've been using iPads now for a little over a year. I talked to Butch Kerbin, who is chairman of Greenville County Council. They like them very, very much. Mr. John Miller with the hospital system said that his board used it and that he had board members that were computer illiterate. Thought that he was going to have difficulty getting them to put their arms around it, but now that they thoroughly enjoyed it, it saved a tremendous amount of paperwork and printing, and more importantly, it required them to look at something about that thin instead of something that thick or thicker. I did ask Ms. Davis to get up some cost comparisons for county council, and during fiscal year 11, which just went by, we spent approximately $7,497.18 on copies, and Linda estimated that approximately $7,122.32 of that was used for council itself. Now, that does not include the time that it takes to put these books together and also tear them apart. The Finance Committee recommends the purchase of an iPad for those council members who would like to use that method of being able to research their information for future board meetings and future committee meetings, council meetings. So put that in the form of a motion.
Coming from the Finance Committee, doesn't need a second. Any discussion?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, may I?
Wilson?
Just for the record, these will be bid out, and these are simply estimates of what they would cost.
Oh, we already, Finance Committee was actually presented with that.
Right.
1 second, and I'll tell you. We got two bid estimates, one for a 32 gigabyte device, which was $718.68, including the care plan for a 1-year warranty that was recommended by the IT department. And the second one was for the 64 gigabyte. And if you'll remember, during the Finance Committee deliberation, Mr. Moore even thought it was a good idea to buy the 64 gigabytes, I believe.
Difference in the money was not.
Yeah, it's not that. So it would be approximately $824.68. But then you have to add on to that, say like a carrying case, which would be probably $60, $75, and approximately $50 worth of software. So it'd be a little less than $1,000 for each device.
And that would be an iPad that wouldn't be used for communications. It would just be for receipt of the information.
Yeah, well, a council member could decide on their own whether or not they just wanted to receive, the agendas and minutes of their council or of their committees that they're assigned to, or technically you could use it for email. I personally, if the council approves it, would be using mine initially just for getting all of the documentation and agendas for the council meeting and for any committee that I'm on, and any relevant information. One of the good things about having this, it would prevent people from having to come into the courthouse and pick up their material. They would have it instantly as soon as Ms. Elderman has the information available without us having to worry about when can we go down there and pick it up. So we'll just play a what-if game. What-if game is, for example, if 4 members of council wanted to use it, and I think we discussed the fact that our administrator would need one, and also Ms. Elderman would need one. That would be a number of 6, assuming that 4 people vote for it. That'd be $6,000.
Ms. Wilson?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Wilson still.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Ms. Wilson?
just a comment, because I doubt that I will use one anytime soon, but it's obvious that it would be an advantage for some of us to have it. I'll be glad to support it, but I'll continue getting mine the old-fashioned way, and I'm probably the worst burner of papers from the county, but going to point that out.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd.
My question is about the applications. How many applications will we have to buy to put on this iPad? That's number one. Number two.
Well,
With the mess we had over cell phones, mine in particularly, with that mess that we had over cell phones, you think these people are going to allow me to have an iPad? And number three, will the iPad be subjected to the same FOI information that the others that we have been having to deal with? Number 4, we have people sitting up here that said that they don't even know how to turn on a computer. And there's several of you said that you don't even deal with computers. And here we are talking about getting this iPad. I'd like to have hard copies of information that comes to me because I write all over them and I make notes. When I get home from these meetings, I file my notes from this meeting into a system that I have that I can go back and retrieve it anytime I need it, and then I have my notes on it too. So it's not going to completely erase all the paperwork. We will still have to do paperwork for those of you who ask for packets of information. We will still have to do that. I don't see the cost of that. And then on number 5 or 6, wherever I am now, I feel like if we have the extra money to do this, then why can't we get the extra money to give our employees an increase in salary? They haven't had a raise in 3 years. I don't see why, if we can come up with this $7,000, $8,000, $1,000 apiece, why we can't do something to, for them. We couldn't even have a Christmas party for our employees, a Christmas dinner for our employees to show them how much they mean to us and how we are so grateful for the work that they do here. We have a darn good group of people that work for us, and we couldn't even do nothing for them, but yet we're going to buy ourselves these iPads. Those are all the questions I have. Are there any hidden charges here that we have not considered? I think that 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, if we had talked about iPads, it would have been a great time. It would have been a great time to do it, and I would have been all on it. But ever since the past 3 years, I'm sure all you've heard was, we are poor, 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 poor. We don't have the money. We got to tighten belts. And now we're talking about over $1,000 a piece for iPads that's not going to be used. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, just for a minute, on the right, if Ms. Ford was curious to, I think she asked about 6 or 7 or half a dozen questions. She was rolling them off. I'd like to answer some of them if she wants to answer. If not, I'll move on. If you asked a question, or if it was just rhetorical.
No, these were questions that I was concerned about. I did not attend the meeting, so I don't have enough information. In fact, I would like not to have you answer those questions tonight, Mr. Dunn.
Okay.
I would rather the administrator who has heard the questions, I would rather he talk to me personally on the telephone and answer the questions. Give me some kind of comfort that we can afford this, that this is going to be good for the county, and that it will be used, and that I won't have to catch the same flack that you all let me catch over my telephone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Crowder, what was that number again in the dollar amounts in copies per year?
Copies, all right.
It was 7,000?
$7,122.32.
So we would be, basically by saving that money, we'd be paying for the laptops in 1 year if all...
Saved even half of it.
Yeah.
Paying for the laptop.
Okay.
Well, not counting the labor.
Labor, right, okay. And another question that had come up to me was, well, why can't you just go out and then buy a cheap laptop for $300? So the problem with that is you can maybe buy a laptop for that, but you don't have any software, operating system, virus programs, and by the time you add all that stuff in, you're going to be up to $600 or so anyway for that. And the other question that was brought up to me was, well, those council people are going to take those iPads with them when they leave. I would like to make it certain that the iPads will stay here in the county, at least as far as I'm concerned, and I think everybody probably agrees with that.
Well, it's
We're
county
not
property.
taking those. That was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Chair?
Ms. Floyd.
I did forget to mention the laptops. Didn't the county buy laptops for all county council members, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Don't think so.
Yeah.
You got one, but I don't
was-
think they was already in stock. They didn't buy one for each county. But anyway, I never received mine. Mine's being used anyway by county employee.
Okay, wait a minute. They did buy laptops for every council members, because one was in my office. It was during the time that I think Mr. Cunningham was administrator then, and laptops were purchased for each one of us. And those laptops, some of them were turned back in. I turned mine back in. And I don't know what I don't know what the others did with theirs, but I turned mine back in. But if an iPad was needed, couldn't we just use the laptops that was already purchased? This question that I'll talk with the administrator about.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I think I'd like to make this comment. This is something that we've been talking about for about 6 or 7 months. It's not like it's overnight that we're surprising everyone with this. Just as Mr. Crowder said, this will save the county money. I'm one of those people, I'm not crazy about computers. I have witnesses at my civilian job and my military job that they will attest to that. If this will save the county's money, I'll be willing to learn how to use the thing. So,
Well, anything else, Mr. Waters?
that's all, thank you.
I'd just like to say a couple things quickly, since I think some of these was maybe affects me. One thing on the savings, though, was Mr. Waters is not one of them, but in the past, I think council members up his way, they've had to hand deliver agenda booklets, and so that'd be a saving there. Not do that. Mr. Waters don't. He comes and gets his. But in the past, that could be savings. I've been one of them before, so I don't even turn a computer on. But we all change in life, and believe it or not, I've caught up to the 21st century and working on it. I do have do that now, and plan on doing this. The statement, the email, that the iPads won't be used, I think, is not correct. I think they will be used and saved in the long run, and think it's a good idea. And I'd just like to, I want to state just a little bit, if Ken might have some help here, Mr. Burns, about where this money's coming from, because I don't know a thing else. This money's coming from, it's, we can all say all of it's taxpayers' money, but we get a fund every year, so much from Duke Power, to help us fight, to do emergencies with and whatnot. And this can fall under the case and been checked and researched about notification of council members. That's where this money is coming from. So it's not coming out of the general fund or nothing like it. And how this would be funded if it passes. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? All abstentions? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson in favor, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Floyd abstains. Chairman Crowder, moving on to item number B.
All right, Chairman Dunn, thank you. We have a proposal submitted to Mr. Robert Carroll by Duke Energy to actually do a study to see if we can reduce the energy consumption of 4 properties owned by Anderson County. Mr. Carroll, would you like to make any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a conflict of interest here, so I'd like to abstain from.
Okay.
Not a whole lot to say other than fact, 4 of the staff members did meet with Duke Energy folks from Greenville and Anderson. And this is basically to help us try to reduce electrical cost. And starting out this program, we'd look at 4 big county buildings, the historical courthouse here, new courthouse across the road, the civic center, and the sheriff's office. There would be a upfront cost, or excuse me, not upfront, a cost of $10,000 per project, which each project is 2 buildings, so it's $20,000. Duke Energy would pay half of that. We would be responsible for half of that. If we choose to, once they do the analysis, and if they recommend some implementing possibly some upgrade of some equipment or other items, if we proceed through with that, and then there's certain incentives that they have that would, our $10,000 part would possibly be reduced by X amount of dollars depending on what we chose to do. But I think this is a good start to look at these 4 buildings and then possibly look at a few others if we feel this has been an advantageous project.
Take any questions or any
Finance
comments?
Committee recommends these.
Have a motion come to finance committee, doesn't need a second. Anyone have any questions or any comments? Mr. Carroll, Mr. Allen?
And just a question, what were the buildings again?
This building here,
All right.
the new courthouse across the road, the main sheriff's office building, and the Civic Center building.
Okay, thank you, that was all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, can I add one thing?
Mr. Burns?
If we have to pay that money, it can come out of our energy grant. If we find a definable project, we have around $50,000 left in the energy grant, which could be used to fund these projects.
All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Chairman Crowder, moving on to item C.
All right, thank you. We have a series of grant requests that were given by staff of Mr. Burns. One is a recreation trail program where they have want to file letters of intent on 3 different projects. Who wants to discuss those 3?
Mr. Crowder, you have before you some requests for recreational trail programs. There are 3 of those. This is merely a letter of intent stating that we would like to further pursue this. This is not an obligation of funds at this time. One of them would be used at the Green Pond Landing. You will see the supporting documents behind there. The other one would be used at the Timmerman Boat Ramp along the Saluda River. You see the supporting documents there. And the other one would be Dolly Cooper Shoreline Access Trail, and you see the documents there.
I would like to call it to council's attention on the second and third of the 3 proposals. There are required matches, and you will notice if you go to page 4 in your packet, you will see that one is suggesting, keep in mind this is a suggestion from staff, that District 7 provide $7,000 out of next year's money, recreation money, and we would also, as a council, have to come up with $4,250 from our county funds. If you also go to page 6 for the third of grants, you'll notice that where District 6 would have to provide $5,000 out of their recreation fund next year, and we would have to come up with a local match of $20,000. Make sure we have full disclosure that there are matching requirements for these 2 of these 3 projects. Finance Committee did recommend these for council's consideration.
Coming to finance committee, doesn't need a second or any discussion. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you, Chairman. The next is a series of 2 state Homeland Security grants. Who wants, is the sheriff here? He said he was going to be here.
I think he's at a community meeting tonight, if I'm not mistaken, in my district.
He told me he was going to wonder how he was going to be at 3 places at one time. Well, anyway, the first grant is for $100,000. If you turn to page 1 of 2, you'll notice that this is a state Homeland Security program, and if you go on down, really the intent of this grant is to provide updated equipment for the hazmat team. So this is funds to replace aging, semi-obsolete hazmat equipment that the county currently owns. And the second one, turn over. You'll notice that the second one is a state Homeland Security grant. The purpose of this is to be able to enhance the upstate regional BUM and SWAT team enhancements to be able to engage the possibility of terrorism, severe criminal activity, and other high-risk arrests and search warrants that the county has to conduct from time to time. You'll notice that this grant, like the other grant, does not require any county matching. The Finance Committee recommends these. your consideration.
Have a motion coming to finance committee, doesn't need a second. Any discussion? On favor of the motion, show of hands. Those like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number D, Chairman.
All right, Chairman, the next, you will find in your packet a letter from Tri-County Tech, which actually requests that the county deed land to Tri-County Technical College for $1. They want 77 acres of land out at the airport. Finance Committee actually tabled that request, awaiting additional information for consideration. So there's no action to be taken by council tonight unless you wanted to move forward on that without having the additional information.
I think several council members had some questions, want to get something worked out on that, and I think Tri-County Tech understands.
So with your permission, I'll move on to the item E, and there was no documentation in the packet that was sent out. So, Mr. Burns, would you like to tell us about the personnel?
Rita's going to handle that, Mr. Crider.
Yes, sir. Rita, thank you. Didn't see you back there, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request in our sewer department. It's a promotion of a maintenance technician, which is a pay grade 13, to a pump station operator / technician, which is a pay grade 15. The personnel code says for promotion, you get 5% or middle of the new pay grade, whichever is greater, 5% is greater. So that's when we're coming before council. Our budget ordinance requires us to take it before council.
Yeah. The Finance Committee did discuss this, and the Finance Committee does move it before council with a recommendation to approve.
Motion coming to finance committee, doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Hearing all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number F, Public Defender, Mr. Chairman.
All right, at this time, I'm sure we would like for Mr. Burns to recognize.
I'm sorry. You got another personnel thing?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
That's right.
I apologize.
It is.
Yes, sir. Well, along with Mr. Carroll, we'd like to describe, we want to promote an IT person from pay grade 23 to a pay grade 25. Again, it's a promotion, and you want to describe what you would like to do?
Yeah, what we'd like to do is we posted this job. We had only 5 applicants total to apply. Interviewed each of those. We'd like to recommend promotion from within. The gentleman currently is a pay grade 23. This would take him to a 25. We're asking for beyond the 5%, and basically this would get him in alignment being the senior network engineer pay grade. This would be a 10% increase, but it would still be significantly less than what the former employee was making in that position. So we're not asking for anything extravagant there by any means.
Yes, sir. I will add a sidebar comment. The county salary for such a position is way below the going market rate. So it's encouraging to know that people will accept that kind of decrease, well, not decrease, but less salary, because skilled network engineers are in high demand. And so the Finance Committee did recommend that for council's approval.
Coming to finance committee, doesn't need a second. Any discussion? None, all in. Ms. Floyd, I'm sorry.
I'd like to have seen something on paper with that, because it's all kind of confusing now.
We didn't.
But you're going to, this person is already on board,
Yes, ma'am.
and he's at a pay grade
23,
23, and you all are going to want to promote this person to pay grade 25.
25 is a
But
senior
yet-
network engineer.
But, okay, pay grade 25.
Yes, ma'am.
But he's going to get increase larger than what's given to a pay grade 25.
No, ma'am, just larger than what the way the policy reads now, that 5%. We're asking for above that, so that's why we came through the Finance Committee and to the
So
council.
you're asking for a
approval.
10% instead of a 5%,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Is this setting precedent for others in this same age? Because I think that most of our employees, are working below the pay grade You know, so is this setting something that we're going to have to continue to do for everybody who's
No.
below the pay grade and once they get?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Are you thinking about it, or you don't think so? You don't think that this will happen again?
This person is moving into a higher job classification and is assuming a leadership position. They will be the senior network engineer. So it's not as if we're taking an employee in place and increasing their pay. Their job status is changing. So that's why our request is
Okay.
Still
all right.
below below the pay scale of the one they're replacing.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that explicitly, okay? But instead of moving him to a 5%, you're going to move him to a 10% pay increase, right?
Ma'am, that's what we're recommending.
I beg your pardon?
That's what we're recommending.
10%. It sounds really good. But my only thing is, are you prepared to do the same thing for somebody else in the same situation?
If it's the same situation, what we have right now, yes, ma'am, I would come back and ask for it.
Rita? Believe it, man. Okay. Are you prepared to do the same thing, to come back and ask for the same, if someone else is in this position, is in the same situation, are we going to do it the same way, right?
Well, to be honest with you, Ms. Floyd, we're trying to get pay aligned in that department among individuals. So we don't
Only in
want,
that, okay, only in that department? What about all the other
in this
departments?
situation, it's not right for a supervisor to make less than someone that they're supervising.
That's happening all over.
And it's been with the county longer.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Thank
All-
you, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. Prior to that, now we've been moving on to item number F, Public Defender. Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Chairman Dunn. At this time, I would like to get Mr. Rusty Burns to introduce our new public defender and also to present the case before us tonight.
Mr. Chairman, we have our new public defender, Chris Scalzo. Chris is the interim public defender, and he's doing a remarkable job. He has made so many changes and done so many wonderful things there. And I'll ask Rita to come up and assist with this presentation. And you have the supporting backup documents in your file. So Rita, would you, or Chris, whichever one would like?
Well, I'll start. Good evening. My name is Chris Scalzo. I am the interim public defender. It's a pleasure to be before you. It's my first time before the full council. I'm happy to answer any questions. I did make a proposal, a plan that I forwarded to Rita, and obviously I talked to Mr. Burns about. And there is a debt that was incurred prior to my taking over. Once I found out about the debt, I spoke with Ms. Carter and Mr. Burns about it, and decided that I thought it was a priority, that it should be addressed, and have come up with a plan to address it, and have presented that, and I've also presented it to the Finance Committee. I think it is something that my office can do while maintaining the level of service that it's been able to provide, and hopefully provide even better service, and also address the debt in an appropriate way. But I am happy, obviously, to answer any questions that any of the council members do have.
Have any questions, comments?
Yes? How do
Ms.
we,
Floyd?
thank you. How do we incur the,
The debt?
yeah,
Our office incurred the debt, as best as my understanding, because I'm going backwards, working through. I wasn't there at the time. I believe it was a priority choice. I said this to the Finance Committee, and I'll say it to the full council. I do not have any evidence, or have not seen any evidence that this was criminal or illegal or anything of that nature. I believe it was a priority. I reprioritized and tightened our budget to address this. Primarily, the funds came from the county handling salary for the Public Defender Office. Prior to my taking over, our employees paid into the benefit packages. So that meant that our office would have to reimburse the county for that money. We would get essentially an invoice for that. the office fell behind on paying that invoice, and that's how that debt was incurred. We have since made all the employees county employees. The structure is set up more as a county-level agency, the Anderson County-level agency, to be more in line with how other agencies operate. This is yet another step to make sure that we act as another county agency, any other county agency acts, and so that's really how the debt was incurred.
Anyone else?
Personally, I would like to thank you for your due diligence in being fiscal responsible and stepping forward and working with our finance department and our administrator to rectify this problem. So the finance committee is recommending this payment plan, and keep in mind, obviously it's subject to future changes.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to have done it.
We have a motion come to finance committee, doesn't need a second, any discussion? I again want to thank you and commend you for the job you're doing. Heard a lot of good stuff about you and appreciate you very much so for prioritizing this and paying this money back. We appreciate it. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. Again, appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, moving on to item number G.
Yes, sir. The EMS grant in aid. Mr. Burns, would you like to address that, or do you have Mr. Stoller here tonight?
No, sir. Mr. Chairman, this is a grant we received from DHEC. It is no match required on this, no administrative cost, and it will be going to all the rescue squads in Anderson County for emergency services equipment.
The finance recommends approval based on the fact that it is a grant that does not require any county matching money.
Have a motion come to finance committee, doesn't need a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries. Moving on to item number H, sewer interest rate reduction. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Chairman Dunn, we do have two proposals before you tonight for sewer interest rate reduction. You'll notice in your agenda packet documentation from the Budget and Control Board where we have made a request to amend loan agreements, first of all, for interest rate reduction for the Star Iva area pump station. And then if you go to your other tab, you'll notice it's an Amendment 3 to loan agreement for interest rate reduction for the Highway 76 Sandy Springs sewer extension loan. You'll notice that this does save the county some significant money by the rate reduction, and it requires no effort other than filling out the paperwork, and we thank the Budget Control Board in making this opportunity available. It will save the county money in both of these areas. So the Finance Committee recommends both of those for your consideration.
Okay, if I understood right, we'll be voting on H and I, correct?
Yes, sir.
And,
Unless you'd like to.
No, sir, that's fine. And coming to finance committee doesn't need a second or any discussion. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number J, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Chairman, thank you. The spec building discussion. Actually, the Finance Committee discussed the possibility of a spec building. Innovate Anderson at their board meeting last week liked the idea of having a joint public-private partnership. You know, if you go around the country, you see where people are realizing, and personally I realize, that government should not be all things to all people, and that the private sector should walk up to the table and be a stakeholder in the development or the economic development of Anderson County. And so Innovate Anderson at their previous board meeting did set aside $150,000 that they would be willing to put forward to a spec building, realizing that there are counties that surround us, such as Abbeville, Pickens, Oconee, and Lawrence, that have already gone forward in the spec building area, and some have had some good success. We did have some good discussion about it, and actually came up with the following proposal. The recommendation from the Finance Committee is to charge Mr. Burns and Burris Nelson with doing a study that would actually study three things. Number one, the possibility of, as an alternate, having the development of spade-ready, shovel-ready sites to attract future industry. The second option was to do a spec building, and the third option was to be able to have the software capability to do a virtual building design. And obviously there's other options like combinations of those. And so the Finance Committee recommends that we give our staff the right to go ahead and come back to us with concrete pros and cons with cost figures for these three different options.
Coming Finance Committee doesn't need a second, and open floor for discussion now. And I'd like to say this is not spending no money. It's just do a study to come back for information, report back to council, make a decision at a later date, or any discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Wilson.
in addition to that, we had an awesome discussion. Some really great ideas came up, and I called Mr. Burns and the Finance Committee yesterday. Another citizen came forward with another good idea that should be inexpensive. He pointed out to me that nowhere in I-85 frontage does Anderson County Economic Development have a sign. And he was saying that, for example, in Greenville, the Greenville Development Authority has signs with some of the brokerage firms and sites, and wanted to make sure that he recommended to us that we look into that, maybe billboards or smaller signs that could be put with those brokers who would be willing to put up one of our signs with them. It had a lot of appeal to that and should be a very inexpensive way to market our county. So I just wanted to say that we're getting some really good ideas from people out in the community that are either no cost or low cost, and that's a welcome addition.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I had a lot of questions on this, and I think that maybe Mr. Crowder has covered it as long as you know, the staff here in the county can answer some of these. But you know, like I said, a lot of questions. I don't know whether to take time up with it tonight or not, but it you know, when you're talking about a spec building, you're usually looking at a 50,000 square foot building, which that's what most of the numbers are. And so basically you're looking at a small to medium-sized business coming in. You know, a Michelin or a BMW or First Quality, they couldn't be less interested in a 50,000 square foot building. So you're kind of removing part of the population involved. There is a common denominator, though, for all businesses, and that's infrastructure. And we've got a lot of sites around the county here where if we're going to put a chunk of money in somewhere, maybe we would be better off putting it in infrastructure, and that way that would entice all sorts and all sizes of business. I've always kind of been a fan of the virtual building, but all the experts say that a spec building is the way to go because that draws people in. But
thank you.
I have to keep this in mind. The Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, you all know what that is. 6.5 million square foot building, largest office building in the world. It was built and opened in 18 months. I can't help but, that was with 1940s technology. I can't help but think with 21st century technology, if a company comes in here, they see a piece of land they like, they see we've got a workforce, we're a right-to-work state, we have minimal union activity, we've got a great climate, got a lot of things going for us. But they couldn't come in here and say, hey, I want a building, I want it X-shaped, and I want the loading docks on this side and a parking space over here and this, and this, that we couldn't get something put together on a computer and up in maybe 6 months or so. And if a company is going to move from somewhere else, it usually takes them that long or longer to get moved from a location to a new spot. So I just think that even though the experts are thoroughly sold on spec buildings, I have to keep reminding myself that the Titanic was built by experts, and an amateur built the Ark. So I've got to question a lot of these things. I think a study is certainly needed, and I will certainly vote for that. And I've got other questions, but I'll shut up now and, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Floyd?
Thank you. I have been studying the spec building now for a couple of years. I have talked to the economic development people. They've changed their names and I can't keep up with it, but about it a couple of years ago. At that time, it would have been a wonderful idea. That's when companies were really pursuing places to go and lands to occupy. But since the economy has dropped or whatever it did, I think that I like the shovel-ready idea best now. I like it better because we have places, we can't build a spec building everywhere across the county, but we can try to get infrastructure where it's needed in more than one place. I think about Highway 29 and how that is so it's so close to 85 and it's close to everything else, and I don't understand why we are not using that area up there to show people. So I'd rather see infrastructure going in rather than this one spec building. I know that Lawrence did it a couple of years ago. That was when I was first introduced to it. And I understand now that Lawrence has finally rented it, or somebody has finally bought it, and they're getting ready to do another one. But it took a long time. I, too, am very interested in, the study being done so we can take a look at that. And while I have the mic, Ms. Davis, may I see you, please, after the meeting? Thank you.
Moore. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a real good discussion at the Finance Committee meeting, and I want to thank Mr. Crowder and Mr. Wilson, and I think it was a good discussion, everything. And I'm kind of torn between it. When you compare the spec buildings, like when you mention the counties of Lawrence and Pickens and Oconee and Greenwood, those counties don't have Interstate I-85 running down the middle of it for 40-something miles. And they probably wouldn't need to do a spec building or anything they could to attract any kind of industry. They probably wouldn't need that. But when we sitting here with a treasure going up from the Georgia line all the way up, and as many miles as we have on Interstate 85, I think if we could get some of this grant money, and we talked with Mr. Burns, and I think he's going to try to see what he can do on some of these federal grant money that President Obama administration, as far as the interstate highway system and some of the frontage roads. If we could develop our frontage road system and have some shovel-ready sites available on the interstate highway system, business will come, and they'll come. We have sewer and water and have sites available, and we have plenty of land. Anderson County's got a lot of land on that interstate, and the growth that we would see in this county would be unbelievable, because that's the number one asset that we have on economic development, is that interstate. And Oconee and Pickens and Greenwood and Lawrence, they don't have it, and we do. And we need to utilize what we have for economic development, and putting the sewer lines and water lines and getting some shovel-ready sites available there is a must, I think, what we need to do. And what Mr. Allen, he was talking about the Pentagon, that's a good example, but in today's technology on the precast walls and, buildings are so fast now going up. Mr. Dunn, I know he's a builder, he understands what's going up with the precast walls and things. It's real fast now. And when the plant burnt in LaGrange, Georgia in 1995, I brought this up as an example at our meeting on Friday, it burnt to the ground, and Roger Milliken wanted to get it right back into operation as quick as possible because he was going to lose $400 million They had to tear the building down, demolish and remove all the excess. They had to, the DHEC had to come in, they had chemicals there. Even with all the soil removal and decontaminating the site, they still was making product in less than 6 months. 181 days they built the plant. It was a 600,000 square foot building that burnt to the ground. They built back a 800,000 square foot building, and they were making carpet in 181 days. And that was with the cleanup, the rebuild, and everything. Well, technology, just since 1995, it's amazing what's out there now on the design and engineering standpoint on the new building construction techniques that are available now on a precast. It's even faster. So that building could have been built even faster. And most of your plants, they have pretty much an idea of the type design criteria that has to be met on your exits, on your lights, and everything that's needed in their process. They know what they need. They pretty much have a design already available, and when they come into an engineering company, they'll pretty much turn that over to them, and then it'll be refined. And my point being, most of the time, it wouldn't be a spec building. It's going to be grassroots construction. And on spec building, if you go to the engineering news reports and pull up on spec buildings, there's just hundreds of articles. But if you summarize down through it, the bottom line is, on a spec building, it's from 20% down. So you have an 80% of not any success. You only have a 20%. And I think if we're going to gamble, I'd rather gamble on infrastructure than that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it. Time's expired, so I'm going to let y'all add some time. Can I add 10 minutes? Have a motion to add 10 minutes to this.
Okay. I'd like to make the following comment.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Waters, motion, Mr. Allen, extend discussion for 10 minutes. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Moore, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposed. Mr. Crowder?
In talking, I am a member by appointment of Chairman Dunn to the Upstate Alliance. And at a recent meeting of Upstate Alliance, Ms. Jennifer Noel, some of you may know, was kind of like second in command of Upstate Alliance, but now since Mr. Bobby Hitt has taken over as head of the Department of Commerce, Ms. Noel moved out of her Upstate Alliance job and moved to Columbia. And at a recent meeting, she unequivocally made the following statement. She said, of all the requests last year coming into South Carolina for requests for information, 70+% of them only wanted to look at counties or sites that already had spec buildings. Which means that if you don't have a spec building, then Anderson County is not even going to have a mail out that goes out. So, secondly, if you read the article that Ms. Nikki Mayo wrote about our discussion of the Finance Committee, you will notice that she did a quote of one of the economic developers from one of our adjoining county who made the statement that he thought that it had generated more positive leads since having a spec building into that particular county. So, I've already conceded that I think we need to go through with the study. The Finance Committee was unanimous in that. But I think by the same token, State Department of Commerce, who is the one that we look to for a good number of our leads, say that 70% of the activity is for a spec building, which in my mind says if we don't have a spec building, whether or not we move it or not, we're going to be bypassed, and those people aren't even going to look at Anderson County. And secondly, you got to not lose fact of that the fact that the private sector could put up to 50% of the cost of this building. And last but not least, we would not give the building away, so any investment that we made in the building would be recovered and returned with any interest that would accumulate. So just wanted to get that in the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And keep in mind, there was going to debate spec buildings are not here tonight, but we just asked them for a study. But I would just like to make a couple comments since brought up. Now, I'm all for infrastructure, like Mr. Moore said, and said it from the get-go about, especially on the interstate. But I don't think you're going to get what we need on the interstate for the bang of buck you can put a spec building up for. If you think a spec building can be built just a 50,000 square foot building, be built just like that. When you're riding around Anderson, look at these gas stations, how long it's taking to build some of these gas stations. Two, I'm all for sewer lines. We had a golden opportunity a few years ago about sewer lines. We sent it the wrong direction.
Yeah.
We sent it away from interstate, which should have been going. But neither here nor there. We've added on this. This is just for a study. I think it's good to get back and have this stuff. All in favor of the motion, show of hands.
A motion.
Motion to do a study. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chairman Crowdy. Thank the Finance Committee. On item number 11, approval of bids. I don't believe there are none. Item number 12, appointments of various boards and commissions. Does anybody have any appointments on boards or commissions? And then we'll move on to item number 13, requests by council members. Mr. Waters.
I do have 4. I'd like to appropriate, or bring this as a motion, Wren Fire Department.
This is coming out of District 6's recreation account?
That is correct.
Okay.
Wren Fire Department, $1,500. 3 and 20 Fire Department, $1,500. Powdersville Fire Department, $1,500. West Pelzer Fire Department, $500. And Piedmont, $1,000.
Have that form of motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
I have one question.
Ms. Floyd.
Is that Piedmont Fire Department? You just said Piedmont.
Piedmont, yes, ma'am.
Fire Department.
Fire Department.
Okay, good.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Waters?
That's all.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2. These are, this will be matching monies for 2 PARD grants. The first one would be a match out of my recreation funds of $1,550 for Double Springs Community Park. That's to match a $6,200 PARD grant, and $1,200 to Pendleton Community Club, and that's to match a $4,800 PARD grant.
I have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Floyd?
I don't have any.
Mr. Moore?
None tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Crowder?
I have none, Chairman Dunn.
Ms. Wilson? I have one, $400 to the, to the Shriners. It's to give certain tickets to about 40 children to go to the local, I think it's been done in the past, local special needs and orphans and abused children to attend the Shriners Circus. Put that in form of a motion, and you got documentation in the book, or should have.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously.
Chairman Dunn, may I also change mine and give $400 to the Shriners for the children?
Yes, sir.
Is that appropriate?
Yes, sir.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Have a second.
Recreation account.
Have a second. That's $400 coming out of District 1's recreation account. Second by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 14, Administrator's Report. Mr. Administrator.
Nothing at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to item number 15, Citizens' Comments. I'm sorry. I apologize, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. There was another budget transfer that I just wanted some clarification on. It was Public Works Solid Waste, and that was from supplies MRF to financing fees. And it says this transfer is to generate a budget for an annual fee due. This fee is generated by Regions for servicing the debt of the revenue bond that solid waste obtained. This fee will be due each year until the bond is closed. A budget will be generated for this expense next year. Just a little further clarification. I'm not quite sure I understand that.
Davis, can you give me clarification on that? Are you going to need some time? Can you speak to that?
Ms. Wilson, was that in Fund 420? Finance and fees, is that what you were talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, let me see if I've got a page number on it. It's toward the back of the, I think it's the next to the last one.
The $262.50?
$262.50.
Okay. That is the fee by the bank who is the trustee for the solid waste revenue bond.
Okay.
The one that was issued for the upgraded convenience center. And that's just a one-time annual charge, and that's the amount, so there won't be any more this year. And I have advised their accountant that next year to make sure that it's in the budget when it's presented for the fiscal year 13 budget. It's about the same amount every year.
Okay.
But again, that's a new debt. We just started servicing that debt. So we will make sure that's budgeted in fiscal year 13.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on to citizens' comments. Would Mr. Pitts call your name? Please state your name and district and address the chair. Pitts.
First up, Mark Powell.
Short people. Mark Powell, District 7. iPads, just so you know, before you spend money, which I think is a wonderful thing for you guys to do. I know that this week's agenda packet was online. I was able to put it on my computer. Actually, I left it booted up. I don't know if I can save it there or not. As far as keeping a record, I'm not sure. But I had it on there, so as you talked about it, I looked through everything, and I was able to do that on my computer. Thank you so much for that. That is a wonderful savings of paper and an instantaneous way of getting, instead of having to go to my council member's house to pick it up. But iPad, just so you know, the next generation, which is coming out really soon, iPad's biggest problem, and reason they suggested $8 per month for the service plan, is they suck when it comes to breaking. The screens break. You drop it, it's dead. But the new generation is Flex. It's coming out really soon. You can take it and twist it. It's a new flexible LCD screen, something, just so you don't spend money before the new technology comes out. I don't know how quick that is, but it is going to happen. Speaking of spec building, I called on 4 states for about a year. I called on 3 states for 3 years, 27 counties in North Carolina, South Carolina for 3 years. I saw a lot of spec buildings. When the economy was hot, they still sat empty. But what I've seen now, let's say, for instance, in Oconee County, there's a company that used to be there called Compact Air. The gentleman came here, built air cylinders in his garage, and expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded. And the building's like a maze of little buildings, or gigantic buildings, been added onto. He had 480-something employees. He sold it. A lean, mean company got a hold of it and dropped it down to 42 employees. He got with Oconee County Economic Development. He got with the state, all these people who come up with all these fee in lieu ofs and all these wonderful incentives. And he told them he'd hire 22 people if they would help him. They not only gave him that spec building that Oconee County built, but they also bought his equipment. And eventually he said he had hired 10 more people, up to 80-something. This was 4 years ago, during not so bad economy. And they actually subsidized their wages, so when he hired an employee, he only paid like $2.50, just like a waitress at a restaurant. So just keep in mind, spec buildings are something that people want, because when they looked at them, they know you county suckers have already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build something, and they can negotiate getting it gosh darn cheap, in my opinion. You know, there's a great story in the Bible of a Pontius Pilate who sat back and allowed something to happen under his watch. Under your watch, you've allowed a citizen of ours to be put on no trespass. because of a little blurb that a police officer said he saw about 5 seconds worth of someone's facial expressions. And you guys are punches in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Wash your hands, but the water in the bowl is dirty.
Elizabeth Fant, District 3. My comments are related to taxes this time of the year. The higher the tax rate, the more government will find a reason to spend. The more money government spends, oh shoot, hang on a second here. The higher the tax rate, the more government will find a reason to spend. The more money government spends, the less money people have to spend. The less money people can spend, the less can be spent to make purchases and pay bills. The less money available, the more likely loan defaults and foreclosures. The more individual defaults, the more bank failures, which result in tighter credit. The less purchases are made, the less businesses can grow, thus less hiring. The less hiring means higher unemployment, suffering, and crime. The more unemployed means less people to pay a fair share of taxes. The less people to share the tax load means higher individual taxes. The new higher tax rate means a less likely availability of money to spend, which further diminishes positive economic cash flow. Every time the cycle repeats itself, it worsens the outlook for everyone. Only with a firm foundation will we survive, like the story of the 3 little pigs. A foundation of straw or sticks will be blown away. Only on rock-solid principles will we survive. The wolf is big government and votes by politicians who approve spending more of your money. Constituents, think about all the people that are up for election in the next year. When will you oust this creature? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Moving on to item number 16, remarks from council members. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, citizens, staff, and my fellow council members. And before everybody leaves, I got a very disturbing letter that I want to meet with Mr. Burns and perhaps get a meeting with our sheriff to go out in my district soon. But thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Crowder.
Well, I certainly want to wish everyone in Anderson County a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. When I write a card, instead of say Merry Christmas, I say a Happy Christ birthday. Make no apologies for it. And so consequently, I also want to thank the wonderful staff we have in Anderson County, which a lot of times people criticize them for being overpaid, underworked, and what have you. But I thank you for all that you do and stepping up to the plate and trying to be user-friendly to the clients that we serve, because it's no secret the people who we serve are the citizens of Anderson County. We don't serve ourselves. I'm not here for me. It's been a good year. I hope that in 2012 we will have an exciting year, exciting from the standpoint of creating more new jobs. Keep in mind, government never creates a single job. Business, the private sector, creates jobs. But government does create the environment and the infrastructure that makes business come your way. I come from the old school. When I started my business, nobody offered me anything. I wasn't looking for anything. I just started out with $1,000 and started my own little business. But today, unfortunately, we live in a different world, and to be competitive with other counties and other states, we have to have economic incentives as well as things like Highway 85, Lake Hartwell, the mountains, the ocean, in order to get businesses to come our way. So thanks to Mr. Burris Nelson, Mr. Burns, and others, I think we're going to have some really good announcements in the near future. And I just pray that the Lord will bless Anderson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take our opportunity to wish all my fellow council members a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And been a busy year this year that we've had, and hopefully next year won't be quite as hectic as we had this past year. But enjoy serving with each and every one of you. All of us have different ideas and everything, but that's what makes it great. You know, everybody can always voice their opinions, and everybody, all the council members listen. We might not always agree on everything, and most time we don't. but it's been a good year, and I appreciate y'all very much. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Floyd?
First of all, I want to start with Mr. Dunn.
That's right.
Had a good year. I appreciate the fact that you make this council as agreeable as it's going to be. I thank you for the way you, I thank you for your courtesy that you've shown to me, and I just want you to know.
Thank you.
To our employees, you're the best. You're the best. You deserve more than you've gotten. My heart goes out. Jobs may come and jobs may go, but just know, here you want it. Here you are needed. And one of these days, council will get on the same accord, and they will know how important the work that you do for us. You make us look good. We sit up here and we talk about all these facts and figures just like we just knew it all the time, but we don't. We don't. You make us look good. And I just want to thank the employees for all of this. Burris Nelson, if you have an announcement to make in the near future about our economy, I sure would like to know it. If some knows it and the other ones don't, it doesn't help. But Burris Nelson, it was said that there will be an announcement in the near future. I don't know of any announcement in the near future. So if you've got something that you're keeping under wrap, but everybody else knows it, I'd like to know it too. We've worked really hard this year. Some of us worked hard at being important. And some of us worked hard trying to get the job done. Next year we have an election year. And oh boy. Mr. Allen, you're all right with me. Thank you.
Ms. Floyd? Mr. Allen?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Floyd. No, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I think a lot of times we tend to forget the true meaning of the season. And, you start right after Thanksgiving, you come out with, oh, you got Black Friday, and before you know it, it's Magnificent Monday and Terrible Tuesday, and they're still going on and on with sales. And Madison Avenue has done a fantastic job of trying to sell. And sometimes this time of year, it gets pretty darn hectic. Trying to get ready for Christmas, trying to, whatever you do, clean the house, cook, bake, whatever, get ready for family to come in. And somebody turned around the other day and said, hey, it's Christmas and everybody's feeling terrible, so get over it. It just gets to be a hassle. But we forget the true meaning of Christmas. And I would just encourage everyone to keep that in mind, that the Christ child was born that day, and we need to remember that above all else. I thank you. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Staff, council, everybody, have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Waters?
I'd like to thank everyone it's been a pleasure working with everyone. There's a lot of conversations going on, between meetings. You just see the results of those meetings. And it's been a pleasure this has been my first year in politics. And it's been a pleasure to work with everyone. All the department heads, mentioned Burris Nelson. That man, he's a great guy to work with, just full of knowledge. And I really enjoy sitting down and listening to him among the other. That's just one example. So it's been a great year. I heard a comment the other day from one of my constituents that they've noticed how well that this council has gotten along this year, and we may disagree. That's came up a couple of times, but we're civil about it, and I think that's a great compliment, and I appreciate that. Looking forward to next year. This year's went by fast for me.
It has.
It seems like it's only been 8 months, but here we are getting ready for the Christmas season, and I agree with my fellow councilman. This is a special time of the year for me. This is my favorite time of the year, Christmas. Matter of fact, December the 26th, I'll start getting ready for next year, and so I look forward to that. And just want to thank everyone, all the people that I work with. There's someone always grabbing you and talking with you, and I enjoy learning something, a different approach to everything. Appreciate the administrator, the good job he's done. He answers a lot of questions and does a great job. A lot of people don't know what he does. And Mike Pitts, he's a good guy to work with. And I've had questions asked him. Enjoyed working with you too, Mike. Just want to thank everyone once again, and we'll see y'all next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. I'd just like to say, I want to thank the entire council for the job they've done this year and working, hard work they've done and supporting me, and appreciate the job done for council and the job they've done for the citizens of Anderson County. Like I said, it has been in some ways it's like it was just yesterday, in other ways it's like it's been a long year. So it's Corey, you're sitting there, but I do want to thank everyone. I want to thank the entire staff for the job they've done. Our clerk of the councils have done go through a lot and do a lot. I want to appreciate them for the hard work they do. Our county attorney, Mr. Burns, your entire staff, and all the county employees. And also want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, council members, citizens of Anderson County, and all the staff, and hope they have a good, safe holiday. And if there's no, and look forward, and let's hope we have a good, successful new year next year in economic development. If there's no objections, the meeting will be adjourned.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.